And one of the great things about Disneyland and the really well looked after theme parks is they are so much more inclusive than general society. And when you go to them, you get to really understand the variation in people's needs and how many families live and adapt to needs and disability that they can't do that at home, and therefore you don't see people out and about in the numbers that we know exist, where people are living with physical or intellectual disability.
So are these, when you say, obviously this was quite a long time ago, and they're very inclusive, would you say that they're inclusive for people with different sort of mobility needs and sort of, so would you say they're quite forward thinking, these sort of parks and
Yeah,
theme
I mean,
parks?
my personal thing is Disney. Like, look,
Right.
there's lots of reasons why people might bulk at Disney, and some of them, are very, yeah, I won't get into the politics of Disney, but for a group of people, Disney is the only place or one of the few places, if they can get there and afford it, that you can walk in or you can roll in, and there'll be lowered curbs, there'll be properly accessible toilets, there will be quiet places to go if you're feeling agitated, or and then the staff are so well trained in different forms of needs. And I don't want to get emotional, but I remember when we went to Paris and there was someone that we were looking after who is no longer with us anymore. And like James in Colin's documentary, Colin's son, she's non-verbal, and the difference is Angelman syndrome is people can live an ordinary lifespan, whereas with
Yeah.
this condition, children are born with all of this is MPS 3. Are born, they might have some signs, but they might develop, but then lose skills, and it's called a childhood dementia. They lose their physical skills, they lose their intellectual skills, and eventually they become entirely dependent until they pass away, usually, but not always, in late teens or adulthood. And Sophie was in a chair, not verbal, but would laugh, would enjoy things, but she didn't have a huge range of senses. So the only thing she could really do were take in the atmosphere. She couldn't go on the rides, most of them, I think.
She couldn't go on them.
No, because the type of support she needed
Right.
was beyond a standard, like, a wheelchair accessible ride. So the only thing she not the only, but she would take in the atmosphere, and she would see the bright colors and the music and everything. So it's really important that she would be at the front of the parade to see the parade.
Right.
There's no point in her being there if she's three people behind. And
Yes.
then you get there, and then the Disney staff are like, right, here's where you're going to sit. This is the best place for, I
Yes.
know, sorry. This is the best
Wonderful.
place for you to be so that you can get the most out of this, Sophie. And this time, one of the volunteers or one of the staff members from a charity, when Sophie saw Cinderella go past, you could see that she really lit up. And so the staff went up to the chaperone after the parade had ended and went to the gate and just said, look, Sophie really loves Cinderella. Is there any chance that we could see her again? And Cinderella came back out of the gates and up to Sophie and knelt down and held her hands. And it was, honestly, I don't think anyone who was there will ever forget that moment of just such generosity and understanding, that how Sophie really, really enjoyed that.
And it's
And
such
I
a big
think
thing.
that's
Presumably, it
what
was
I
such a
get.
big thing for Sophie, and actually such a small thing for that lady, whether she was an actress or the
Mm,
employee, to actually do, but out of the goodness of her heart. And it does make you wonder if they've got some inbuilt sort of communication strategy to make sure that people
totally.
feel included and feel welcome and feel loved and special.